Blog Talk Radio.
A touch of reality. Welcome to A Touch of Reality with your host, Linda Evans. A Touch of Reality combines gospel to rhythm and blues with discussions on current issues, plus special tributes to a different musical artist every show. To listen in or call in and join the discussion, call 626-231-0302. That's 626-231-0302. And now, Oprah number 2, the queen of radio and blog talk. Please welcome the host of A Touch of Reality, Linda Evans.
Said we're just going to go ahead and bring on our wonderful guest, Mr. Dennis Parker, which is in the building. Mr. Parker, can you hear us?
I can, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, it is a pleasure to have you here, for sure. You are going to be educating us this evening on some hypnotherapy. But before you do that, give us a little insight about you. Tell us about where you're from. Do you have kids? Do you have brothers, sisters? Give us the lowdown as far as your family background first.
Okay. My family background, I was raised with 7 children. My wife and I have 11 children. We have 34 grandchildren. And all of the kids are married, so with spouses and significant others, there's about 54 of us in my immediate family. So I'm very family-oriented and in the family tradition, so to speak.
Wow. See, where I come from, Dennis, we have to say a good googa-mooga and a side of fries to that.
Not everybody appreciates that nowadays, but we do. I mean, the kids and grandkids are what it's all about for us, you know.
Well, I didn't personally come from a big family as far as brothers and sisters go, but my father was the oldest of 22 kids, and Mom was the oldest of 10. So they had their brothers and sisters and stuff. And by the time my father, when it got time for him to have kids, he was like, I'm only having one because I cannot share a pork chop with too many crumb snatchers. So that was the deal. We were not going to share. We were not going to tear up one pork chop amongst 10 people. It just wasn't going to work, So we were going to have to do some things and make people go out and get a job or put some food on layaway, whichever way they wanted to do it. But he wasn't having it. He's like, no, I don't want that many kids. No, ever.
Right. Well, and that's the way our kids have felt about it, too. I have a hard time getting our kids to get past 4, so most of them have 3 or 4 children. That's about it. They're not buying into my whole routine of, totally multiplying and replenishing the earth,
Well, if it was left up to me, when God said be fruitful and multiply, I could have took that 2 ways. I'd have said, what kind of fruit would you like? Would you like plums, pears, apples, bananas? See, I would have went that whole different route. Because some people have so many kids, he have to return to say, okay, enough already.
Right.
Don't do any more. No more. So how did you get into wanting to have a big family, or was this something that you always wanted to do?
Oh my gosh. No, we always decided that we wanted a big family, but we thought we were going to have 4 or 5 children,
Mm-hmm.
And we had the 4 or 5 children, and then we were having a little picnic one night, and frankly, we gathered all the kids around. I looked at my wife, and we just had this sense that somebody was missing, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and she said, somebody's missing, and we said, oh my gosh, and so it wasn't long till we had number 6, and we just kept having that experience till it never came anymore, and we knew we got them all here, so.
were you on any were either you and your wife on any medication in the process of this whole thing? Because my grandmother said that she was on some white lightning when she had her 22. So was there any drinking involved?
No drinking involved. We just, and I've never recommended that to anybody else either. I mean, I think we all have a little different plan, So I've never recommended that to anybody else, but it seemed to be what was right for us,
Oh, okay. And you say you have how many grandkids? How many?
34.
Woo!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That makes me sweat with somebody else's sweat rag. I'm just thinking. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Whew. Okay.
Well,
Just that whole idea makes me sweat.
Yeah, you asked for my family background, so there you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, we like to get a feel for you first before we just get into the whole dinner. You never go to a restaurant and order the dessert first. So, I mean, it would be nice because you could get that part over with because you always have room for it. But usually people put the dessert at the end of the meal. So we don't want to just jump in there. But yeah, me personally, Dennis, I could never. I commend you. I really do. I commend you for having. You had enough kids to have enough kids for me.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do it.
we can send you some of them if you want.
No. I trust you wholeheartedly.
Okay.
See, I made a vow to myself. When I knew at the age of 16, when I was in Miss Jefferson's science class, and she got to explaining to us that we need to know a little bit more about the birds and the bees and how we get here. I knew then when she showed me that special video and it looked like Predator versus Alien to me. I passed out. I did. I kid you not. I passed out in the science room when she tried to say, "Isn't this beautiful for the birth canal for people to come through that channel?" No, it wasn't. No. I got nauseated. I threw up, and the dissected frog looked better than me on that table. And so Miss Jefferson, she told the other students to pick me up off the table, and she said, "I got one piece of advice for you at a very young age, such as you are at the age of 16. I says, "Okay, what advice can you give me?" She says, "Don't ever have children, because if you're going to pass out at looking at nature, you'll never make it."
Yeah.
So I commend anyone that could, especially your wife. I could really commend her because she actually is the one that had to go through the physical pain of giving birth.
Absolutely. She gets all the credit. I was just there at key moments, Yeah.
Well, yeah, you were just there to just, give her the wet towel and pay the bill.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right. She absolutely gets all the credit around here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have to take our hat off to Mrs. Parker because, she did it for all of us. The ones that's just not bold enough to do that. And then I have no patience either. I go through a frenzy if I have to wait on a boiled egg. So I know what it would be like if I had to wait 9 months for somebody to come out, and be introduced to the world.
Yeah.
That 4-minute boiled egg is a killer for you, I tell you. So, yeah, okay. So, were you always into hypnosis and that sort of thing, or did you start somewhere else and it graduated into coming into it?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but you can read it on the school website. If you go to CertifiedHypnotherapyTrainingschool.com, and you go under instructors. My name's there. My personal story is there in great detail and length. I wrote it so people could also read it and understand some about hypnotherapy and how it works. But what happened to me was I was a salesman, and I like commission sales because I never had to ask anybody for a raise, and if we needed extra money for the 11 kids, if I went out and worked harder, I could sell more and make more money. But I found in my life I was just angry all the time, and I really didn't know why. Just little things would set me off, and it didn't take hardly anything to ignite my fire, kind of thing. And I started having some altercations over some silly things, somebody cut you off on the freeway, and just stuff that happens through life. But I just had this anger building within me, and I just turned into this rage. And I found out that my sales career wasn't going very well because people didn't really have to buy from an angry salesman. And it wasn't like I was attempting to be that way. It just kind of ended up being my nature. And somebody suggested to me that I go see a hypnotherapist, and they gave me the name of a person to go see, and I did. And what I learned was that hypnosis, or our natural trance abilities, gives us the access to our subconscious mind, where our real problems reside. I mean, we have a conscious mind and we have a subconscious mind. And James 1:8 says that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And what I learned that instability was, in my anger, was that at a conscious level, I knew that I didn't want to be angry. I knew I wanted to be more friendly and loving and kind and caring and just be a better person and salesperson and provide for my family and so on. But at a subconscious level, when I wasn't totally trying to hang on to the anger, I would get out of control. Little things would set me off, like I said, and so on. But I didn't know why, because in the subconscious we have this barrier filter between the two minds we call the critical factor. And it takes trance access or hypnosis access to actually get through the barrier, so you can find out what is the incongruent thoughts, what's the incongruent thinking that's going on at the subconscious level. And so it's those incongruent thoughts and feelings and emotions that we have stuff down there that causes the instability. So a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, because at a conscious level, we know we want to go forward, we know what we want to do, but at a subconscious level, we have this incongruent rationalization, anger, whatever, and so we start and we stop. We want to move forward, but we hesitate. And so through this trance access to the subconscious, I got to go in and find out why I was angry. And I had no idea. I'd buried it years ago with our two primary defense mechanisms of amnesia and denial. I just stuffed this away, but through this hypnosis process, I was able to go back some 17, 18 years earlier in my mind and go exactly to the experience where I knew exactly why I was angry and what had happened to me, and then I was able to talk it through with this hypnotherapist who, kind of helped me come to the truth of things, and we always say it's the truth that sets us free or makes us free. And once I was able to understand the truth of why I was so angry and what had happened to me and how it happened to me, I was able to go through a venting experience or releasing all of that anger and that emotional content, and it changed my life. I mean, it totally changed my life. And so I started to study hypnosis. I started to study
You are. Yeah. Okay. There you are. You were muted.
I was
Okay. Can you hear us? Yeah, I believe you were.
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. So, yeah. Okay. So we both,
I don't know where we were at, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Were you on a cell phone? Are you on cell
yes.
phone? Yeah,
Yes.
because, see, that, I should have told you that cell phones it does not work very well with Block Talk because they always somehow winds up throwing the call off, and then you be sitting up there calling back into Radio Q 1,001 times throughout the show. But we're going to still make it through. You were telling us about how you got into it.
Yeah, how far did you hear me?
We heard where you started off early and then it cut off. That I do know.
Okay. Well, the reason I got into was I started to explain that I was just angry all the time. Did you hear that part?
Yeah. Yeah, you started off talking about being angry, but you never told us what you were angry about.
Okay. Well, the root issue that I went back to was an experience that I'd had like 18 years earlier, and where my sister had actually been killed. And I found out that I was angry that it happened. I was angry at God. I was angry at the circumstances. I was angry at a comment or two that my mother had said, and the whole story's written again on the website. You can go read that if people want to. But what I learned was that in our subconscious mind, we have all of these experiences in life that we can still be sensitized to, if you will. And we have a lot of emotional content buried there that we're not even consciously aware of. And so hypnotherapy is a way to be able to discover and challenge and change, release, if you will, those old penned-up emotional experiences that we haven't been able to deal with in the past, and sometimes don't even know why they're there or even understand them until we actually get that access to the subconscious mind.
Okay, so basically, help me to understand this. You were angry. You said you went through a period of time where you were angry, and it seems to be due to the fact that the death of your loved one. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, yes, but what I've learned since then as well in doing therapy, that most of our anger, not always, but a lot of it, there's secondary, defenses and payoffs to anger, but most anger is generated by unfulfilled expectations. Mm-hmm. We expect somebody to do something for us and they don't, or we expected something to turn out a particular way in life and it didn't. And we feel that, our expectations haven't been met. I mean, if I go to the office and my wife calls at 5 o'clock and I tell her I'll be there by 6, and she comes and makes me a really nice dinner, and a client comes in and they're in crisis, we get into a little bit of a session and I forget to call her, I come home at 7 and the dinner's all dried out and ruined. I mean, what's her normal response? She's angry about it because I didn't fulfill her expectations and I didn't call and I didn't, So anger is generated a lot by unfulfilled expectations. But the other thing that we've learned is that in the spiritual mind, the imagination can amplify any thought to a huge degree. And so depending on how far the individual amplifies those thoughts in their imagination will also determine the amount of emotional content or the severity of the emotional content that the person experiences as well. And so one of the things that we've learned to do in spiritual mind management hypnotherapy is teach people about their imagination and how they can actually turn it down. So the fact is that if we can turn it up and up and up, and we can create all of this anger or sadness or sorrow or rage or whatever, then we can also be taught and trained how to actually turn it down and down and down, and even eventually just turn it off, which then collapses that emotional content, which now changes our behaviors.
Okay, here's a question, posing a question for you. Hypnosis tend to be working with the mind and the frame of mind. Wouldn't that also play or be the same thing with psychology, with the study of the mind?
No, well, no, not really. We're not psychologists. What we do and everything that we do is really trance-based. Most psychologists and so on, they want to do what they call cognitive therapy for the most part, or talk therapy. And generally they're dealing mostly with, your conscious mind and what people know about consciously. The conscious mind is about 10 to 15% of what we're aware of, and the subconscious mind has about 85%. And the difference is in what we do and they do is that we don't ask you, 100 questions, and if you answer 25 of them this way, it means that, or 35 of them means this. Because what we understand is that every thought, every touch, every smell, every taste, everything you've ever experienced from birth until now, every conversation, is all still in your subconscious mind and can be accessed through these processes. Mm-hmm. So if I were to ask you right now and say, what's that experience you've had in life that's binding you down, holding you back, and keeping you from being all you want to be? Consciously, most people can't tell you, just like I couldn't tell the hypnotherapists that I work with. But mm-hmm. when we induce a certain level of trance, there are 6 observable trance states that we actually use. And when I talk about trance, to kind of clarify, hypnosis or trance or pondering in our vernacular are all the same. So if we say hypnosis or I use trance or pondering, I'm really saying the same process. But the first level of trance down is daydreaming. So everybody understands that part, that I fixated and focused outside my head, but I'm really thinking about something in the back of my head. I was daydreaming when I drove right past my exit on the freeway, that kind of thing. And so the rest of these trance states are just deeper states of daydreaming, if you will. And if I had time to explain them all to you, you'd say, yeah, I do that. Oh, yeah, okay, I get that. I do that too. And, if I had time to identify them all for you, but you can, once again, go to the website of CertifiedHypnotherapyTrainingSchool.com, and there's some free videos on there. And one of them is called The Truth About Hypnosis or Trance, and it'll take you through all 6 of those observable trance states that people go in and out of. So the term hypnosis is not a specific term that indicates one thing. It's a general term that indicates 6 or 7 layers of trance. Mm-hmm. And that's also where people get confused because they want to say, well, I was hypnotized. But in my world, I'd asked you, okay, at what level did you go and what therapies were applied at that level? And how did you respond, and that kind of thing, and that's where we would talk a different shop talk than a psychologist or other folks, because our basis is all around subconscious access and trance states and levels and different therapies that can be done at different trance states.
Okay. Some questions are coming in. I guess I'll ask you the questions as they poses themselves. How hard or how easy is it for a person to be hypnotized or put under hypnosis?
Excellent question. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. I can't hypnotize anybody. But if you follow the directions that I give you, you would immediately and easily comfortably go into trance. And then I could prompt you into these different levels or states depending on what method of therapy, hypnotherapy, that we wanted to achieve or accomplish. So if you understand that trance or hypnosis is just those states of mind that you go in and out of as you go in and out of sleep, you go in and out of every trance level daily as you fall asleep. And that's one reason why hypnotherapists are not required licensure, because we don't prescribe, we don't diagnose, we don't treat. And so if people really understood it, you'd have to say, okay, well, when's the last time I got hurt falling asleep? And yet when you fall asleep, you're actually going through in your mind all of these levels of trance till you get to sleep, which is really, you could say it's our deepest level of trance. So everybody's hypnotizable, because everybody goes through it naturally all day long anyway.
So I guess hypnosis is not what we see on television, where they have the guy says you are getting sleepy and have the little watch going, going across the eyeballs, trying to say, okay, well, you're getting sleepy, and I'm hypnotizing you, and you're going to quack like a duck.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that does work. I mean, because one of the aspects of having people go into hypnosis is fixation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 or 3 components to actually somebody going into hypnosis. One of them is fixation. And so the fact that you have somebody fix their eyes on a spot overhead or on a candle or on a watch or a hypnodisc, or you could pick any fixation. A million objects could be used for the fixation piece of the trance induction. So that does become part of the induction of trance is fixation. But where the process gets a bad rap, honestly, is the 5th level of trance down is identified as somnambulism. Now, somnambulistic trance is a very highly suggestive state of trance. It's a very highly creative state. But that's a state where people are very vulnerable to the suggestions of others. And that's the group of folks out there. And maybe I should explain it this way. As little children, we were all natural somnambulants or somnambulists. And the definition in the dictionary of that term is sleepwalkers. In other words, it's a very highly suggestible state, and a stage hypnotist is looking for people who are still stuck in that natural somnambulistic state and didn't grow out of that state, if you will, like most folks, between the years of 7 and 10. So there is a population out there of people who are literally walking around in a chronic state of hypnosis or trance, and those folks, when they come in, I don't hypnotize them. They're already in trance. I teach them how to dehypnotize themselves. And the truth is I dehypnotize as many people as I hypnotize. We help people get out of the back of their head, so to speak, get out of the old memories, get out of those old fixations of those emotions, get out of their imaginations, and actually come back to consciousness and live in reality in the current moment of time. You know, live in the now as people want to describe it.
Okay. Another question came in from Dolores out of Missouri. She says her husband is a procrastinator. Is there a way that she can get him hypnotized in order to get him to clean the gutters? Okay. Okay, I don't know how you want to answer that one, Dennis, but it's out there.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, we do sessions over Skype. So as long as I can see the person's upper body reactions, the ab reactions, you know, the way their facial expressions change, you know, their eye movements and so on. We do a lot of sessions over Skype, so tell Dolores we can help her husband over Skype. And
okay. Maybe you can get him to do the gutters.
Yeah, exactly. We can actually go into his subconscious and find out why he doesn't want to do the gutters.
Wow. So you mean it's a deep level of a person's conscience to say that they don't want to do something, or they're stopping themselves from doing something?
Well, yeah, there's two types of hypnotherapy that are done, if you will. One of them, the first type is what we call suggestion therapy, and that's what most folks are doing out there with hypnotherapy. They're wanting to hypnotize people to a fairly deep level, and then they're making suggestions that they want to have pass through this critical factor belief system barrier that I tried to describe a minute ago. Mm-hmm. And the concept there is that you want to implant a more predominant thought in their mind than the one that's currently there that's causing the hesitation. So people will make suggestions, and some people will have you do affirmations for 21 days, and you bombard the subconscious with this new predominant thought until hopefully that becomes the new predominant thought, because that's what produces our behavior. So then people will start to behave and respond according to the new suggestion or the affirmation. There's another form of hypnotherapy that we use. We call it redecision hypnotherapy. So, for example, because in the 4th level of trance down, it's called catalepsy, we get access to conscious and subconscious functions at one and the same time. So we can have the person that consciously wants to know why they don't clean the gutters, or why they don't stop smoking. I mean, they know that, cigarette smoking has been proven to be bad and so on, but there's a reason why they don't get up and go clean the gutter, and there's a reason why they don't stop smoking. That reason is in the subconscious mind. So in the fourth level of trance down in catalepsy, where we get access to conscious and subconscious functions at one and the same time, we can now have the conscious mind review what's in the subconscious, understand what that reason is, just like I got to find out why I was angry. I got to understand the whole story of what happened to me. And then I was in a position to make a new decision around that experience. So someone comes in as a smoker, they get to go in their mind and go back to that time when they decided to start smoking. Well, I decided to start smoking because I wanted to be part of the crowd. I wanted to feel cool like my friends. I mean, in the day, it was kind of the in thing to do, so to speak, that kind of stuff. But as an adult, now we have them go back and program their younger self, which really is a representation of them in their subconscious mind, to say, we understand why you made that decision at that time, but now you're years older, decades have gone by, it's ruining your health, don't you want to be here to play with your grandkids? And our job is to help find reasons for them and help them build up in their mind all of the reasons and the purpose for them to make a new decision. So at one time they decided to smoke, but now they have themselves and their own personal problem-solving skills that we teach them decide now not to smoke. That's more permanent, that's more successful than just bombarding them with suggestions, you are now a non-smoker, you are now a non-smoker, you are smoke-free, that kind of stuff. Where we can actually have them go in and do a full redecision process. And so we call that in our school and our affairs redecision hypnotherapy.
Okay. Now, do you focus on one individual, or can you hypnotize an entire family if they're suffering from the same problem?
Excellent question. We do a lot of group therapy because, we can teach a lot of the methods and the methodology all at the same time. And we have people who we walk through the processes, and we know what the processes are, so they think through them in their minds as a group. And then the people come out and write down their own answers, and they figure things out through the promptings and suggestions that we give them. And then in the group, we'll also go around and then ask them if they want a little individual help to finish figuring it out. If something comes up in the group they're uncomfortable with, we have this code word we call myself, and they'll just simply say, no, myself, which means they're going to work on that themselves. If they can't clear the issue during the group, then they'll stay after for a few minutes and I'll help them, or on a break or something like that, and then when it's private, or maybe they have to schedule a private session and come back and we'll work them through their, more personal issues. But a lot of things people really need help with are just childhood issues. That comes up all the time. Everybody seems to have a half a dozen to a dozen childhood issues that are still bothering them. Their school teacher said something to them and they didn't feel quite as smart as somebody else. Or the one thing that we all suffer with is, the belief that I'm not good enough. We've all proven to ourselves, or had life prove to us at some point, that we're just not good enough. I mean, I wasn't good enough to make the high school basketball team, or maybe we didn't get to make the cheerleading squad, or, that we've all had those experiences where, life has said to us that we're not good enough. And if we amplify that in our imagination and we use that as an inhibiting force in our life, that can hold us back from lots of the other things that we are good enough to do or we could learn to do, and keep us from achieving a lot of the goals that we want and could accomplish, but we don't even attempt to because we have this belief that, well, if I wasn't good enough to do that, I probably won't be good enough to do this either. Why try? And we go off into this whole negative mental tirade.
Okay. Now, I have to laugh at some of it. I'm not laughing at you, Dennis. I'm laughing at some of the questions that are coming in. They're quite funny. I don't even know how to address some of them. But
That's fine. I'm happy to do the best I can to answer any of them.
Well, they're weird.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Some of my listeners are weird, Dennis. I mean, they come out of left field, and you be like, what in the world? Okay, like for instance, we have a listener that is coming out of New Jersey. She said her brother Terrence is a playboy, and he always uses her to keep, one girl to another girl from another girl, and she feels like she's obligated because that's her brother and she loves him. So she says, should he get the therapy or should both of them get the therapy? Well, in other words, her brother is a cheater. Well, we gathered that, yeah. So I don't know how you want to handle that one, Dennis.
Well, you know what? We all have our belief systems that we're operating out of, and if he believes that's the best lifestyle for him, and he's getting away with it, then that's obviously why he's doing what he's doing. And if the sister believes that she needs to help him do that because he's her brother and so on, then that's why she's helping him and doing what she's doing. Mm-hmm. But if they sit back and really look at it, the paradoxical question that is how is what they're really doing costing them what they want most? And so when you really sit back and you think about both of their behaviors and what you just said, that's the question. The question that they want to really start to think about is, how is what I'm doing really costing me and keeping me from what I want most? And then they could come to some honesty and reality about that, because once again, as we said earlier, it's only the truth that sets us free. The truth makes us free, and sometimes we have to take a hard look at ourselves and figure out what our personal truths really are and what we'd like them to be versus what we've been demonstrating.
I think, and this, I don't know anything about hypnosis, but I have a cousin that is an alcoholic, and I believe when I last saw him, he came to visit, and I had a long, serious talk with him. I said, "Why do you drink so much? I mean, what drives you to drink?" And he blatantly said that we had an uncle that he used to admire when we were coming up as children, and I was like, but our uncle was an alcoholic. So I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get, why would you take on somebody's bad habits instead of taking on a person's good habits? So I'm assuming, I guess, he would need hypnosis in order to get himself out of that bad habit that he thought was so admirable from an uncle that we had.
Yeah, in that scenario, that's breaking an association like that is something that takes place in lots of areas of our lives, frankly. We can all get food associations, where my grandma used to bake the world's greatest chocolate chip cookies, and when I was a little boy, I got to go to Grandma's. I always knew she just loved us as kids, and she loved to bake chocolate chip cookies and feed us these warm, wonderful, delicious chocolate chip cookies, and all the time she was hugging us and loving us and telling us that she loved us, and we felt acceptance, approval, all the things that we all want. I mean, every human being wants to be loved, accepted, approved, respected. And so when Grandma was giving us all of that, and she tied it to the food in a sense, not meaning to, but we took it on, we create a lot of these behaviors because the behavior was induced with the association. And so deductively what happens is we attempt to stimulate those same feel-good feelings. Deductively, by now we're going backwards. We're eating the chocolate chip cookies to stimulate the feelings that I'm still loved, I'm still okay, life's going to work out, I'm safe, So we're producing those same feel-good feelings by the stimulation of the association. And whatever association that your brother has to alcohol, and it could be chocolate chip cookies, it could be ice cream. We've all gotten sensitized to a lot of different things. and associated with a lot of different things that really, once again, if we can view that from a conscious and a subconscious perspective and separate out the fact that the alcohol is not what we liked about our uncle. What we liked about our uncle was he accepted me, he approved of me, he made me feel good, he made me feel wanted, he made me feel, safe or whatever. And if your brother actually looked at that, it's probably those feelings that he's attempting to stimulate with what he's doing now, and it's not really about the alcohol.
Okay. So it's more of, see, the more I hear about this hypnosis, and it seems like it's going back to something very, very seriously, deeply rooted in order for the now conscious or your mind of the now stage would be able to accept it and change it.
Yeah, and again, that's the benefit of doing hypnotherapy and utilizing trance, is to be able to go through. Another metaphor we might use is, we have a weed in the garden of our mind, kind of thing, and the conscious mind would be the above ground portion of the weed, and so consciously we talk about it, and we may talk it over with counselors and different people, and we might do a lot of good work. I mean, we chop down some branches, we knock off some leaves. We might even get it cut clear down to the ground. But if we don't get down below the ground and pull out the root from the bottom up, which again represents the subconscious mind, what happens is that when we have another similar stimulus that started the root in the first place, then the root grows back. And we see that a lot. We see that a lot in like yo-yo dieting kinds of things. I mean, people will consciously go after this diet, and they'll discipline themselves, and they'll lose all this weight. But if they haven't pulled the emotional root that's also been driving the overeating and the food associations and the impulse controls that they need, when the diet's over and they say that to themselves, okay, well, I did that. Now the root, if it's still in there, says, okay, well, you're through whacking away at the top of the thing. Now the root, when it gets stimulated, it's over with. All of a sudden the root starts to grow back up, and here we go. And people just kind of balloon right back up because they left the original stimulus still there, buried, but now it becomes reactivated. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. It's just like if you have a tree that you need to chop down because it's causing problems, and matter of fact, my neighbor had that problem. He had a tree that was leaning over the wires that was on the next street, and it was causing the area to go into a blackout period for a lot of periods of time. So the city came out and said, okay, well, the part that's over on our side of the fence, we're going to take care of it, but you still got the problem on your side of the fence. So in the point that we were trying to make to him, I'm like, well, you're just going to have to get rid of the whole entire tree, because even though the branches is causing problems for everybody in the neighborhood plus the city and all this other wonderful stuff, you're going to need to get the roots, because the roots is causing damage towards the ground and surface of the building. So it was, the roots were getting so heavy, it was pushing up on, under the I don't know what you call it, the slab, I guess, for the garage, and the garage was being damaged on the other side of the tree. So you have all different areas that you can get. And so, he was devastated because he's like, oh, I love this tree so much, and this tree was here and had my first kiss under this tree or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but you're going to be kissing a lot of more bills, because if the tree grows back, you still have that problem. I mean, really.
Exactly.
That tree, exactly. You're not doing no justice by cutting off that branch.
That's right. And so, so in that metaphor of weeding the garden of your mind, we want to pull the weed out, both top and bottom. We want to get the root with it.
Yeah, because the foundation of that tree was damaging his garage. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do about that part?
Right.
You know, this tree is pushing the garage up off of the slab, and then you got the branches over the wires, and you're just gonna electrocute everybody around here.
Well, and that's exactly it. There's another metaphor to that, Linda. You could also imply in that, and that's that as long as that tree is still growing, those roots are growing, and that pressure is growing. And that's what most people feel. It builds over time. I mean, that's what I experienced. The pressure of my anger was just continuing to build and grow over the years. It wasn't diminishing. It was actually expanding. And to the point that I finally had to, cut the tree down, kill the roots. I mean, I had to do something because, we have this therapeutic term we like to use when our emotional box is full and we can't stuff anything else in it. It's the straw that broke the camel's back, right? It only takes that one more thing, just that one more stimulus, and we open our little emotional box to stuff more stuff in there, but it's so full, when we open it to stuff something in, it doesn't stay in, it just comes exploding out all over, And that's when we know we need to get some help and figure those things out.
Now, how long is a session for a person that comes in with you, or is it like, you have to block off a certain amount of time to deal with their issue?
I like to do 2-hour sessions because you can get a whole lot of work done in 2 hours. And once somebody gets kind of in trance and they figure out the pattern of what we're doing, then people can actually assist in the work and do it a lot quicker. And so in an hour and a half to 2 hour session, we can do a lot of work. And most people that work with me will come in and do maybe 4 to 6 sessions. And in a 4 to 6 session package kind of thing, we can clear up all kinds of stuff as a general rule.
Okay, that was Staying Alive with the Bee Gees, and we're just moving right along. We don't have that much more time to go, but we're going to bring our wonderful guest back on to the scene. Mr. Dennis Parker is telling about this hypnosis. Dennis, are you there?
I am here, yes. I just like we disappear or something.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, them cell phones, I don't know what it is about cell phones, but they don't work too well against the Blog Talk radio system. I don't know why, because every time people do it on a cell phone, they wind up dropping in the middle of the interview, and then we have to go do it all over again. And so it is what it is. But It's okay. We're glad that we're able to stay alive, as the Bee Gees would say.
Yeah,
we're
good.
We're having a theme this evening, Saturday Night Fever. Don't ask me why. I just felt like getting in the mood for John Travolta. Don't even know why. Maybe I need to be put under hypnosis and figure out why I'm going back to 1977 with that movie. But
there's always a reason, and you can find out.
yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm having my, midlife crisis with that whole series or whatever. I do remember I bugged my mother to death about that movie. And we had a tremendous rainstorm when Saturday Night Fever came out in Chicago on the South Side. And my mother said, I'm going to take you to go see that movie. I promise. And she kept saying, we're going to go. And then every time she said she is not going to let me go about her going to see this movie. So what she did was she said, do you realize it's storming outside? We got a thunder and an electric storm going on. And I says, okay, your point is what?
Yeah.
I wanted to go see that movie. So she says, okay, I just want you to know, if your mother dies because you want to see John Travolta, it's going to be on your conscience. And I said, well, I told her, I said, I don't think Jesus is going to take you right before we see John Travolta. I really don't think he's going to take you that soon. So, we winded up going into the storm, going to see Saturday Night Fever. we paid $1.25 to get into the movie, which you
Yeah.
didn't pay $1.25 to get into nothing today, not even a Happy Meal.
Yeah, that's what we call the good old days, isn't it?
Yeah, when the movie prices and the popcorn was reasonable. Nowadays you go into a movie theater, you gotta pay a layaway plan for a bucket of popcorn and some juju beads.
Yeah, see, I must be older than you because I remember paying a dime to go to the movie and a nickel for candy.
Oh man. I wasn't even born at that rate when things were a nickel. I can't.
Yeah,
No, I'm
I remember.
sorry. I can't join you in that bunch, Dennis. I'm sorry.
I know. I dated my wife on 18 cents a gallon gas.
Wow. Do you know what people would do to pay for that kind of price tag for gas? I mean, it's almost like you got to go. I mean, gas prices now, you got to go into another country in order to get a decent price. I think we need to go back to horse and pony, if you ask me, because gas is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, I remember that movie well. And earlier today, I was sitting there. I said, okay, what type of music am I going to put for tonight's show? And I don't know, it just came over me. I was thinking about that whole disco era with John Travolta doing that little weird dance in that white suit that he used to wear.
Yeah. Well, those were good times, you know.
Yeah, and I could, like I said, I could only go back to when movie tickets were $1.25, and that was for the new releases of a movie. So I said, okay, we'll do it. So where did we leave off? At, Dennis? I'll leave that one up to you.
We were kind of talking about, associated memories, and some associations are positive, like I want to be like Uncle Bill, or everybody says I'm just like Uncle Jack or something, and so people grow up and they end up mimicking them, or they tell me I'm just like Aunt Sarah, and so a child will actually lean towards developing those traits that they see in those individuals that they like, love, and enjoy, kind of thing, and they'll start to act out those behaviors. Other things, like you talked about your brother with alcohol, and the way most people would talk about those types of things is that people end up attempting to self-medicate against pain. Maybe they've had some emotional, traumatic experiences and so on, and they're painful experiences to them, and they've never properly dealt with them. And the sixth level of trance down is what we call the Esdale state, which is a state where people can actually go in and block pain. You can also block pain in somnambulism. You can get analgesia in somnambulism, meaning that you can still feel the pressure of the pain, but you don't experience the pain. And in the Esdale state, you can actually get total anesthesia. That's where people do operations and extract teeth, and dentists learn how to do that for their clients who are maybe allergic to the anesthesia. And then we teach a lot of pregnant mothers how to go in and have painless childbirthing and so on, and be able to go into this Esdale state where they can actually have their mind detached from that pain sensory perception and have painless childbirthing and so on. So lots of these associations are associated, with people attempting to self-medicate or disassociate from pain. But if people really understood how to use their minds correctly, they can be taught how to actually disassociate mentally and shut the pain down and not have to resort to maybe some of these other methods of self-medication, drugs, street drugs, alcohol, sex. People get involved in lots of different things to self-medicate. So I think I hope that answered your question about your brother and your uncle and so on.
Well, I just thought, well, actually it was my cousin. He was
cousin,
mimicking, it was my cousin that was mimicking our uncle that passed away, but the only memory that I could have of our uncle is that he was an alcoholic. And I'm like, okay, well, that's nothing that you really want to carry in life. being medicated with alcohol, and so he just thought that was the coolest thing since sliced bread.
Right.
But I was like, but see, what I told him, our uncle had he was an alcoholic, but he was what I call a functioning alcoholic. He had his own business, and then he had his own bar, so he medicated himself with his own free drinks. So, that was a big difference. But, he just lived a normal life, and I consider that to be a functioning alcoholic. But I don't know. I just didn't see that ever being a positive thing to want to follow in somebody's footsteps. Considering that my cousin was raised by just a single parent, which was his mother. He wasn't raised with his father or anything. So, and the only other member of the family that he could lash on to would be our uncle. So, and that's just how that cookie crumbled.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Now here comes another question. Katie from Florida. She says, you mentioned something earlier in the show about dreams and being in relation to hypnosis. How can the two be compared, and what differences or similarities are there?
Dreams are, often the way that the subconscious mind releases or relives imaginary thoughts and feelings and so on. So, we can be watching a particular movie before we go to sleep, and we have that lodged in our imagination, and then as we go to sleep, we continue to imagine and dream that, we become the hero or the heroine, or we associate with the dog or the horse or the animal in the movie or the character. And so dreams can manifest to us, our best desires. They can also manifest to us our greatest fears. If we have a fear of a particular thing happening to us or those kinds of things, those fears will also manifest themselves in our dreams. Those can also be dealt with, if you will, examined, gone through these personal problem-solving events where people can understand their own interpretation of dreams and what they mean to them. Because in our field of thought, everybody really does know what those things mean. If you think about your heart, mind, spirit, intelligence, that part of you that really is you, it knows at a very deep level what all of that really means to you. And when you make that connection again between conscious and subconscious functions, now you can know consciously once again what your subconscious is attempting to manifest or release or let go of through dreams and sleeping.
Wow. That's a lot to take in regards. I guess that's another way of looking at hypnosis, is just thinking. We're now learning that hypnosis really starts with the depths of whatever the problem or the situation, whether it be positive or negative, which is a good thing. So that's very interesting. Now,
you gotta remember that again. The first level of trance or hypnosis is what the world calls daydreaming. And so the fact that we daydream, where we fixate and focus again outside of our mind, but we're actually somewhere back inside of our mind daydreaming, that is where we kind of daydream, but we also use that same mental ability at night as we sleep to dream and think about, again, those things that we either want to have happen, those things that we like, love, and enjoy, or those fears and inhibitions that we have and experience that we will relive and replay in our mind and our imagination.
Okay. Now, did I hear that you have a book of some sort in regards to hypnosis?
I do. If your listeners want to go to spiritualmindmanagement.com, we're just having it re-edited, but you can see the cover of it there. We'll have more copies printed here in the next couple of weeks. If they have interest, they're welcome to go there and order those. We'd be able to ship in about 2 weeks. It's called Spiritual Mind Management, and it explains a lot of the things that we've talked about and a whole lot more that we haven't had time to talk about. But it explains how our spiritual mind works. And one of the things that's different about what we teach is that, lots of people want to talk about the brain, but we're not so concerned about the brain. We know that there's a part of us that is us that we call our spiritual mind that actually directs and controls the brain. So it's our spiritual mind that controls the brain, and then the brain simply controls the body as the spiritual mind directs it. Some people want to call that, they've identified that ability that's been identified for years called the power of suggestion or those types of things. And so, for example, a dentist can learn to help a patient control their saliva flow, their blood flow, pain levels, all of those types of things through suggestion and trance. Well, obviously the brain's doing that, but he's getting that done through suggestions to the mind. And so we explained those phenomena in the book and how people can learn to control other things in their life. And if truth be known, in the way we teach hypnosis and people understand their own mind and thinking, it's really all about people developing personal mind control. It's exactly the opposite of what most people think hypnosis is. When they want to think it's somebody else controlling their mind, it's really not that at all. It's about us teaching people how to control their own mind and achieve their own goals. We were in church when I first got into this about 25 years ago, and some ladies come up to my wife, and they'd heard that I was getting into hypnosis, and these ladies come over and ask my wife, what is Dennis doing getting into mind control, and how come he wants to control other people, and, they were giving her all these questions. And we had 11 very rambunctious little kids at that time. Just so you understand the magnitude of that, at one time we had 11 kids under the age of 12 for 3 months because we have one set of twins. But so we had all these little kids in church, and my wife looked at these ladies and she said, listen, if hypnosis were mind control, we would have perfect children. And,
okay, that's very cute. How'd she say that? Okay.
That ended the whole mind control theory, because they saw my kids in church and us trying to control them, right? But it's really about teaching folks how to utilize their own mind to do things. And we teach people a lot of new mental skills that they're not even aware that they can have or possess. And then people who want to learn how to help other people learn those skills actually come to our school, and we certify people to be certified hypnotherapists and certified clinical hypnotherapists through the American Council of Hypnotist Examiners. And so I actually own and operate a certifying hypnotherapy school that's also online, so all of your listeners who would like to learn more of this can become certified, or they can also be a non-certifying student at a huge discount, which just simply means they want to learn these skills for themselves and to help their own families, their own children, grandchildren, and that kind of thing. So we're making an effort to help everybody we can to learn how to do these things and have these new mental skills.
Sounds like you're making it portable, or mobile, I should say.
Well, we are.
If you're able to do it on Skype.
Well, yeah, they can do sessions on Skype, but if they want to join the school or take the trainings as a certifying student or even as a non-certifying student, we use a program where we broadcast the classes live in a virtual classroom setting. So we'll have people from all over the country sitting in the class at their own laptops or whatever, computers at home, and we can see them and they can see us. They can ask questions just like anybody else in the classroom. We have cameras on the classroom, so they get to see the other students. They get to see me as the instructor. And they fully participate, and they can go through and get their certificates, by classroom attendance in this virtual classroom setting. It's a live classroom, and they get to see and participate in everything. So on any given night at the school, we have people in our last group from Iowa and Texas and California, St. George, Utah, Boise, Idaho, from all over the country, and so we can do it that way.
Wow. Do you do what they call those public speakings, like seminars? I mean, live, not necessarily on phones or anything, but in a live when you travel. Let's say, like, if you're in New York and someone needs it in California, would you go there to do a presentation or to be a part of that? Or
okay. We do convention workshops and keynote speeches and all of those kinds of things for corporate groups or large church groups or that kind of thing. Yeah, we travel and put on seminars and presentations. We can do 1 or 2 day, 3 day retreats, that kind of thing. It just depends on what people want to achieve and accomplish.
Okay. Would you say that hypnosis is along the lines of people who are life coaches? I hear that title as well. You got people that say, well, you got a life coach, and wouldn't that be similar to what they do as well, or no?
No, because this may sound a little arrogant, but I'll try and explain as best I can. There's in counseling and life coaching and so on, lots of people will tell you what to do. You need to lose weight, you need to exercise more, you need to sleep better, they can counsel you and coach you as to what you need to do. But very few people can actually tell you how to get that done in your mind. And again, it's all self-discovery. So it's not so much about what you need to do. It's about how are you going to do it. How are you going to actually get it done and achieve that through your own thought processes? Because until you change your stinking thinking, nothing's going to change. And you've got to be able.
That's the difference.
Well, yeah, and they have methods that can do that. They'll have processes and programs and procedures. But generally, those processes and procedures go along this 21 days to change a habit routine versus where you can actually go into trance and go in and do this personal problem solving. And like I say, generally, in 4 to 6 sessions, we can get people through most any major issue and maybe several issues in that same period of time. It's just it's a quicker, more efficient way to go. That's all. It's not that it's not all good. I mean, I think it all does good, and it's all good. I just, I'm biased. I think we're faster.
You said we're faster. Oh, okay. All right. I hope for your sake, Dennis, that there's no life coaches listening to the show tonight.
Yeah, I know. They'll all be throwing tomatoes at me, but no,
they'll be like, how dare he, make fun of, because I've had several life coaches and people with psychology come on to the show over the years. So if they're listening tonight, I just hope that, look, folks, it didn't come from me; it came from Dennis.
No, you know what I would say to those folks. For example, in our current group, for example, we have a PhD research scientist from the University of Utah Migraine Pain Clinic who's taken the training to understand how hypnosis actually does manifest and how it does pain control. And we have registered nurses in the current class. We have school teachers. We have a 30-year, youth corrections officer, retired youth corrections officer, who has taken a class, and now he's found out about how we do behavior modification and saying, okay, I want to go back and work with youth again, but I want to know that I have some skills and some ways to help change their minds quicker. We have lots of folks who are attempting to figure this out, and we have life coaches who come in and take the training as well, because they want to know how to access again this bottom of the weed. They want to know how to help people get through this. So if you have any life coaches on tonight, I'd suggest that they join the school and take the training and jump in and actually learn about hypnosis and hypnotherapy and the subconscious mind and how the two minds work and what we teach them how to do, because it'll just make them that much more successful and give them another tool in their toolbox, as people like to say, and you know, that kind of thing.
Dennis, are you trying to convert my life coaches?
No.
Who's trying to convert the life coaches over to being a hypnotist?
No, because here's the difference. Or if they wanted to refer people to us to do the deeper hypnotherapy work, people still need what they do, because, you know, the psychology approach of actually helping people continue to discipline them in their behaviors and coaching them through, you know, their behavioral modification on a regular basis and giving people accountability and having a structure, you know, of the changes that they need to make. All of that is very positive. It's the right way to do things and so on. But there are those folks that they know they're working with that they haven't been able to affect the kinds of changes that they want to make or need to make. And in coaching, they'll know what I'm talking about, that there's this group of people that they're not being that effective with because they know they're stuck at a very deep level, and they're just not moving forward in the way they'd like them to. And so to help them get unstuck, so to speak, we've got to pry them loose at that root level and help them overcome those things and move forward.
Oh, wow. Okay, Dana has 2 questions coming out of Nevada, Reno, Nevada.
Okay.
She says, I try my best to try to read people's handwriting, because sometimes they say what's coming off the top of their head, but it's not coming out the way that it's supposed to be. Do you think hypnosis can be a great cure for cancer? That's her first question. Or any associated illnesses?
Yeah. You know what? The best way for me to answer that is, I think, is that most all medical folks will tell you that a lot of what creates illness is psychosomatically induced or emotionally induced. If you go to the doctors nowadays and they can't figure out exactly what's causing your problem, or, you know, that there's not an exact organic pathology that they can lock onto or something, you know, you haven't had an accident or something of why you don't feel a particular way or whatever. The catch-all phrase is that it must be stress-induced, right? Mm-hmm. And what we're really talking about with stress is we're talking about the emotional content that's generated in the mind, and I simply call it electrical, because the nerves have a myelin sheath that acts like an insulator, and the nerve acts like a wire, and so let's just call it electricity in our mind that we generate when we generate an emotion. Mm-hmm. So if you generate an emotion, and all thoughts in our world are things, and all thoughts have frequencies. Mm-hmm. So when you generate a lot of worry, for example, we know that the electrical frequency or the energetic frequency of worry tends to dump off in the stomach. So we've all heard for years, don't worry, you'll get an ulcer, right? Mm-hmm. Because it dumps off maladaptive frequency that knocks the stomach off normal, healthy frequency. So the stomach running out of frequency isn't functioning right. Maybe it produces too much acid, burns a hole in the stomach wall lining or whatever. There's lots of people out there, you know, that write these books. Louise Hayes is a one that most people are aware of. You Can Heal Your Body and those kinds of things, mm-hmm. where they've done a good job of identifying what is the emotion that's tied to the illness. Okay, mm-hmm. And so there tends to be and seems to be an emotional component to every disease, or to some degree to every disease. Let's say, you know, maybe 40% of it is caused emotionally, or 60% of it. Sometimes maybe 100% of the disease is psychosomatically induced, which means in our world, like they have in their books that a disease in our world kind of starts as a DISEASE in our mind that generates a lot of electrical energy, maladaptive electrical energy that's being dumped off in a gland, a muscle group, or an organ group in the body that knocks that organ or gland or tightens up that muscle group in certain areas and keeps them from functioning normally. When that happens over a long-term chronic period of time, that organ or gland or muscle group or whatever can now start to go into a state of dis-ease in the body. And that's what most people want to talk about when they talk about the mind-body connection. That if the mind is not allowing the body to function totally freely on hitting on all frequencies, so to speak, then it goes into a state of not functioning on proper healthy frequencies, and then we call that disease. So when you say, can it help with cancer, the right way to say that might be that if the person were really worry-free and they were, relaxing calmly every day, and they were eating correctly, and they were exercising normally, and all of the other kinds of behaviors that we attempt to help with or correct with hypnotherapy, obviously I believe that would have an overall beneficial effect on their health. Would it be enough to have them be able to detox and totally purge out the cancer? I mean, who knows? Some people believe that, they can do it, and they do, and some don't, And I'm not a doctor, so I can't address that, but I will tell you that we work with people every day who come in with, tightened up, painful areas of their body that when we help them release those painful emotional thoughts and so on, so their body now in that area, we shut off that mental electrical energy, if you will, those thoughts, and shut off that mental electrical energy that's being maladaptive in the system, and their body goes back into normal healthy frequency, then we find that they just tend to naturally start to heal. So I always say that one of the beneficial side effects to hypnotherapy is that you're going to, the side effect to hypnotherapy is that you're going to have improved mental, spiritual, psychic, physical health. Because the mind goes back into natural normal frequency, the body starts to run on normal frequencies, and so the body just starts to heal naturally. That's how I would answer that. Does that make sense?
All right. It makes a lot of sense. And her second question was, which part of the brain is the best for hypnosis, the right or the left side?
Okay, good question. Because once
Boy,
again,
Dana is really full of questions this evening. See, this is what you get on this show, Dennis. I tell you, I'm so sorry. Let me apologize ahead of time.
You don't have to apologize. You don't have to apologize for anything. I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed their questions.
Okay.
Once again, if you go look at the book, go to spiritualmindmanagement.com and look at the cover. And what you'll see there is that we're talking about how the spiritual mind functions that runs the brain. We're not talking about the brain. So I'm not a brain person. I'm not a doctor. I'm not those kinds of things. What we've learned to do is we've learned to help people identify and work with their spiritual mind that actually controls the brain. So the left brain, right brain kinds of things for me, the hypothalamus does this, the corpus callosum does that. I don't get into all of that because we find that we can affect all of those things through our thoughts and thought processes and how we teach people to control their imaginations and their emotions and also alter the perception of their memories.
Okay. Wow. Well, Dennis, I tell you, we have learned a lot this evening.
You've covered a lot of water here. Yeah, you've covered the waterfront.
Yeah, I had no idea that my brain was going to be sweating. I think the whole show started off my brain sweating when you said you had 11 kids and 54 grandkids. I nearly fell off my chair. But
34 grandkids, 54 in my family.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
you said 54 grandkids. I was like, oh my
No,
God.
no, don't. We don't need more credit than we have.
I just remember hearing that number. I'm like, 54. Good mugger.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I'm breathing. You tell your wife I'm breathing for her. I'm
Okay.
breathing. Whew.
Yeah. Well, she would appreciate that. I mean, she's a very wonderful person and just the most amazing person I know. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I commend any woman that can have a baby and not and want to do it again and again and again. 'Cause I think, well, like I said, I could never go through it, and I'm a chicken. Okay, well, it is what it is.
Well, the difference would be now is, see, we can teach you how to do that pain-free.
No,
So you don't
that's okay.
have to.
No.
It's
Don't do
just
me any favors, Dennis.
Come on, it's just a few sessions, and we can have you doing that pain-free.
Okay, when you men learn how to have babies, you can teach yourself how to be pain-free, because this woman is not having babies at all.
Yeah, see how you like to flip that around on us guys? I mean, I get that.
See, let me tell you something. Dennis, I am mid-40s. I'm in my mid-40s. It's too late for me to have kids. Thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. He could, if I'm telling you, if my ovaries fell out tomorrow, I'd probably say, okay, thank you. Let's keep this moving,
Yeah.
Because my doctor, she's like, oh, you can have kids. No, I can't. She says, I just told you you can't have kids, and I'm telling you I can't. Me and my doctor was going back and forth with this argument, and she said, you're healthy, Linda. You can have babies. And I said, I don't care how healthy I am. I'm not having them. That's an option and a choice.
Yeah, well, so if you ever change your mind and you choose differently, then let me know, and we'll help you do it pain-free.
Oh boy, there we are. Now, that was Disco Inferno with the Tramps, and now we're going to bring back on Dennis so we can get ready to close out the show. Dennis, are you there?
I am here. Sorry about that.
Okay, it's okay. We're getting ready to close out anyway. Did you have any closing remarks or to summarize what we had been discussing throughout the show this evening?
Sure. I would encourage everybody to, kind of take a look at our websites, spiritualmindmanagement.com and certifiedhypnotherapytrainingschool.com. There's some educational videos on the school site that are free to everybody. One's called The Truth About Trance or Hypnosis. The other's called The Truth About Hypnotherapy. And then there's also a new one we kind of just let go with a book called Spiritual Mind Management that actually will take people through those processes of their spiritual mind and how it works and how they can start getting some orientation to those potentials. So all of those videos are there for people to watch. They're free. There's a lot of training there. There's like 6 or 7 hours of those videos on the school site and then also on the spiritualmindmanagement.com site. So that would give people a lot more information on what we've been able to cover here. And then if they have any questions, please have them feel free to contact me. I'm happy to visit with folks and answer their questions.
Wow. Excellent. Well, it has, in spite of the little small bumps and bruises that we went through with the phone line or whatever, don't even worry about it because it's still good. We still managed to get into a complete show. That's what we do. We, rain, sleet, or snow, we arrive on time.
We still delivered the mail, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we like to, taking that little thing from the mail people there. But
well, let me let me just thank you. I appreciate your time and interest in allowing me to have some time on your show. So thank you very much.
Oh, no problem, no problem. You have been the most gracious and patient host, I guess not host, guest, I should say, that has been in Radio Q. And anybody who can put up with my listeners and their questions, oh, you're good.
Oh no, you guys.
Because they can throw you a boomerang every now and then. So as long as you enjoyed it, that's all that matters.
No, I very much did, and I thank you for it.
Okay, well, you can come back any time. Well, folks, with that being said, we're going to get ready to get out of here. And don't forget to join us on Thursday when we are giving away gift cards. I'm telling you, you better be in Radio Q to get your free gift card for the holiday season. And we're just going to say we're going to send this out with much love. I bid you all peace, love, and double deuces, and we're just going to let the credits go ahead and take us on out. Good night, y'all, and thank you again, Dennis, and have a good and safe one.
Thank you. I wish everybody happy.
A touch of reality. You've been listening to A Touch of Reality with your host, Linda Evans. Listen in 4 days a week at 7 p.m. Central for A Touch of Reality. Our homepage is www.blogtalkradio.com/A Touch of Reality. To have Linda make a guest appearance on your show or for any comments, questions, or concerns, email us at letstalkbusiness2@yahoo.com. Check out our full line of clothing, which can be found on Blog Talk Radio and the Queen of Radio. It's our full line of sportswear for the whole family. We at A Touch of Reality only want our listeners wearing nothing but the best. Until next time, thanks for listening to A Touch of Reality with your host, Linda Evans.